Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Andrea, I want to start by congratulating you in accomplishing this big goal. How does it feel?
Just, I'm on cloud nine and I'm very excited, very excited.
That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about how your journey started? I mean, you don't have to get in deep in it. You can just tell me a little bit around, like, how was this, like, how were you introduced to CFA and what made you want to join it? Let's start there.
Okay, well, it started as a pilot program for the city of Memphis government for the employees. And a good friend of mine is she works in the Office of Talent Development, and she brought it to my attention that this pilot was coming called College for America through Southern New Hampshire University. After she kind of gave me a little bit of detail, she didn't have much, but we had a representative from College for America to come out and talk to us a little bit about the program. I think her name was Margaret, I believe.
Martha, yeah.
Martha, yeah, that's who it is. She came out and kind of gave us a presentation and did the overview, did a really good job of explaining how the program works. And I just thought it would be a great program for me as I'm a mother, a grandmother, and wife. And I thought it would be a really good program that I could get into.
What do you think? What do you think motivated you or ignited you to actually take that next step and say, okay, I'm actually going to sign up and get into the program, other than just the desire of saying, oh, this might be a good program for me?
Well, I just kind of felt like it was time. My boys are grown. I have a 15-year-old, but my his adult brothers pretty much take care of him. So I just kind of felt like it was time. A lot of times when you start, when you're younger and you start to go to college and everything, a lot of life things get in the way. So I got married and then I just kind of forgot about it. And I just kind of felt like it was time. And when it was introduced, I think it was the right time for me to go ahead and start.
How did you feel when you started? You know, you logged in and you got the information, and you know, what was your initial reaction?
Well, I was a little bit intimidated for just actually going back to school. I was thinking, I actually didn't really think I was gonna be able to do it, but I just said, well, I have to try so that I'll, to even know that I could do it. Just was a little bit intimidated, maybe like the first month, because I was getting to learn the program and what it was all about. But kind of like by the end of the month, I got a little more confident when I got introduced to you, especially. You kind of told me what the program was about. You really motivated me. So I think that intimidation kind of went away because I had a lot of support, family support, but then I had a lot of support from you being introduced to the program. You kind of took your time, explained things to me. And after a while, I was like, okay, when I mastered that first project, I was like, okay, I think I can do this, So I think when I mastered that first project, I was like, okay, I kind of surprised myself because I mastered it in, I think, like a day. I did the program and I submitted it, and I was really anxious to find out if, I was expecting to get a not yet, but I mastered it. So I think that kind of boosted my confidence level. And then from then on, I was just pretty much all right with, and pretty motivated all the way through.
That's awesome. Now that you started talking about projects, how did your CFA work? Like the works that you did for CFA connect with your personal or professional interest? Oh yeah,
each project really, when I started the projects, I was really kind of surprised that a lot of the projects that I was doing really connected with what I did what I do now at my current role in my job and in my home life. So I was really surprised at the competency-based projects that we had. I know a lot of them was, just for example, one of the projects was, my first project was talking about an election And, and that, you know, I was telling you, I was kind of a little intimidated by that, because I was like, I don't know anything about elections. I don't know anything about voting, anything like that. But after I started doing my research, I learned a lot. So that pretty much connected with my personal life. I was able to pretty much understand what elections were all about. How did they, you know, how did the election process go? I looked back onto past voting, voting for president, things like that. And I had that project. So that kind of connected with my home life. And I was able to kind of explain to my children all about the election and things like that. So that really connected with me with my personal life, that particular project. And, you know, a lot of the other projects we had, it was one where we were talking about going into the Excel program, and I had to create formulas and things like that. That helped me tremendously on my job. So the programs really are competency based, where they are really, really helpful with your personal life and with your work life. So I really, really was able to really, you know, connect and really relate to a lot of the programs, a lot of the projects. So that helped me out a lot.
That's great to hear that it was so relevant to you that you can transfer those skills directly to what you were doing for work every day. That's awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's talk about some of those projects. What were some of the projects that you enjoyed the most, and why? If you had to name some.
Let me see. If I had to name some, let me think, because some of them were the ones that I started at the beginning. I know the one that was called Election Fever. That was one that I really enjoyed doing, the Election Fever. Let me think. I'm trying to think of what else. I wish I had it in front of me, but I don't. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones that I had. Body of Art was one that really, you know, I love art. So that one I was really, it had me to do research on these particular pieces of art. And I had to do a presentation, had to actually do a presentation. That one was extremely interesting. I really, really enjoyed that one. Let me see, I'm trying to think of some of the others that I really enjoyed. The presentation, one was regarding experiment with psychology, I believe.
Psychology, yep.
I had to do a stress presentation, and I had to do it on a video. I had to do a video stress presentation, which was really fun. It was really fun to do. And there was another one that I did. I had to do a video, and I had to do a mock interview. Yeah, where someone had a problem, and I was consulting them, and it was my son who was having a problem with one of his teachers. And I had to give him advice on what to do to get the issue resolved with his teacher. I had a lot of fun with that one because I was able to work with my son on that.
Awesome.
Those are some of the ones that I really, really enjoyed a lot.
That's really cool. I wanted to bring this story up. So you reached out to me because you were having a hard time in this writing project. You spend a lot of time with the resource. Like, you spent a lot of time. It was. I can't even remember what season of the year it was.
Oh my God!
It was fall, somewhere in fall, maybe October, November. And then you said, okay, so the book, the beginning of the book is actually the middle of the book. Okay, so the book starts in the middle. Like, the story starts in the middle of the book, which is really the beginning of the book.
Right.
And in the question, it's asking to compare the beginning and the middle. So when they say the beginning, do they really mean the beginning, like the beginning of the book, or do they really mean the middle of the book, because that's where the book starts?
Right.
And I remember, so I went through your resources. I was like, okay, I can't give you the answer because that's something that's actually critical to you know, the
Right.
competency you're going to gain. And I told you, because by then you already started writing deliverables on both ways. So you said, I wrote it one way, but I also started writing it another way. So I just want to make sure that if it's one, that I already have the content for one. Then if it's another, I also already have it. So I told you, I was like, whatever that you think the direction is asking, submit it, and you wait to hear what the reviewer feedback is. And then it ended up being whatever you thought it was.
I thought it was, yeah.
But you spent a long time trying to figure out, okay, what were they saying? Is it the beginning of the book or the middle of the book?
Right, I did.
But that's all part of the journey, and you've done an amazing job of staying consistent and not giving up throughout that process. And in result of it, you know, now you're done. You're done your AA. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to talk about your pace. Let's talk about that real quick. You know, how did you start? You know, how did you build your progress? And then how did you keep that progress going? Like, give me a little feedback around that experience, because you were in charge of this process. So I'm curious to know from your end, how would you describe your pace?
Well, one of the things that I actually committed to do, I committed to doing at least 1 hour of working on a project. And then I said I was going to do it. Once I submitted a project, I was going to go ahead, while I was waiting for that project to be mastered or not yet, I was going to kind of read over the next project just to kind of get a feel for what it was going to be about, so that I would know, you know, what to do, right. I could just jump right into it once I mastered the next project. So I just kind of committed to at least 1 hour a day. And then I even did process at work. And then I even got my coworkers involved, you know, in helping me. So when they figured out even the mock interview, that was one of my coworkers that I did the video with, that she was the one who interviewed me, and I was the person who was applying for the job. So my coworkers kind of helped me out a lot. And on my lunch break, I would actually go into the conference room. And that's the good thing about the job that I have. I was able to actually go into a conference room by myself and pull my stuff up on a big screen and work on it. And I think when you have a big scope like that, you can really, really, you know, you go in with really open eyes of what the project is all about. So I just kind of paced myself. I committed to that 1 hour. And I think the only one where it was only one project that I spent too much time on and too much time haggling over it. So I had to just kind of put that project to the side for a minute to kind of get my head straight. And I actually end up, that project was like one of the last projects that I did to go ahead and finish my 120 competencies. So I just kind of pushed that one to the side because I think I was overthinking. So that was one of the things that I tell my coworkers who just started, you know, don't haggle too long on a project. If you want to just wait a minute and say, okay, let me put this one to the side and start on something else, and then go back. And then you can kind of go back with fresh eyes. You know, and I think that's what I did, because I think another one was that water everywhere. Remember that when I told you that was a thorn in my side?
I remember that one.
Yeah, I spent too much time on that one also. I think I spent too much time on that one. I put it to the side because I was overthinking it. And then it was one of my last two projects when I went right in and I just mastered it. And I was like, okay, well, what was wrong with me then? I just think I was overthinking and then stressing on it too much. But that's what I did. I just paced myself and committed to that 1 hour. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, you know, I don't have to work. So I spend at least 3 hours, you know, just back and forth, not just 3 hours straight, but I'd go in an hour and work on something and then go do something else and then come back and work on it some more, that kind of thing. So you can't overload yourself, because your mind will start to get overloaded and you'll start overthinking things like I was doing. You know, easy things. Like it was like one problem that I overthought it so much that I just couldn't get the answer. So I just pushed it to the side, and then I came back to it and then I got it just like that. So I just think just committing to at least 1 hour a day or whatever, you know, how many ever hours you want, but don't overload yourself. And and that's what I didn't do. I didn't try to, you know, get it all done in one sweep. I just kind of paced myself and say, okay, I'll do an hour today, do an hour tomorrow, do 2 hours on the weekends, things like that. So that's how I pretty much paced myself.
When did you know that you had this? Like, when did you start feeling like, oh man, I actually got this? Like, I'm on this now. Like, I've gained all this and I'm going till the finish line. Actually,
when I knew I was gonna be okay, remember, like I was saying, it was that first project that you know, when I mastered it in like 2 days, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. So then when I got to, I'm not really good at math. So I was kind of got a little intimidated with the math programs, especially the geometry. So when I think it was not the geometry, it was the Excel project that I did. And I went through that whole entire project, and it was a purple path project. So it was a long, really long project. So I had to go into Excel, enter all these formulas. And I just said to myself, I'm just going to go ahead and submit it to get feedback to see, you know, what did I do wrong? And I mastered it. I didn't get a not yet. So I was like, okay, I got this, you know, because I was really kind of doubting myself. So a lot of times I would submit a project thinking that I'm just going to get a not yet and get feedback when I actually mastered it. So I just think it was a lot of me doubting myself and, you know, not going to school in a long time. So, but I think after that Excel project, I kind of knew, okay, I think I got this. I think I can do this.
That's awesome. How would you describe the support, right? Because it's a personalized program, but you have all of this support around you. You have your own community. You have, you know, the support the CFA provides, the reviewers' feedback, the coach that you work with, the peer students, all this other support. How would you describe it in terms of the relationship that you had with that? How did it support you?
Oh, absolutely awesome. You know, and that's one of the things that I would, you know, I told my coworkers who were getting started, you're going to be surrounded by so much support. If it's the evaluator, you can send a message to the evaluator. If you don't understand their feedback, they're very patient. You know, I don't care how many times you don't understand something, they stick with you and explain it to you. And then they'll send you an email back and say, if you don't understand it, please let me know. The coach, I told them that if they, you know, get demotivated at any time, you could call your coach and connect with your coach. And, you know, if you're having any type of issues, the community has been, I mean, they've been absolutely awesome. And one of the good things about it is you get to meet so many people. One of our projects was Teamwork for a Cause. And you have to and that was a group project. And I still talk to those young ladies that I did the project with. We've been following each other's progress. So I sent them an email to let them know that I completed my 120 competencies and they were elated for me. So I think that support is so important because everybody is focused on the students. Everybody is focused on you getting where you need to be. And I think that's what all whether it's online classes or if it's a college course that you have to walk into a classroom, I think it needs to be more where you gather around the students to keep them motivated. And if something, you know, if you have an issue with a project or something like that, you can always go in online and you'll have that support right there. And one of the things is that tutor.com was about the best thing that you guys could have ever implemented.
That's awesome.
Because that's how I got through that Water Everywhere project. Because the tutor, he was able to write everything out on the whiteboard and explain to me what the problem was asking for. And I was able to really, really understand based on what he showed me. And it was like on Labor Day that it was like 12 o'clock midnight on Labor Day that he was helping me with that project. So you're surrounded by support from all around. So you got support, like I said, your coach, you got the community, you could send an email to the community. Everybody's willing to help. You could just ask a question and you'll start getting answers from all over where people try to help you. And like I said, and then when you hit a milestone, everybody celebrates you. So it's always, it's always support. It's always motivation at all times. So that's one of the things that really, really kept me going. Like I said, you get people who say you can do it, and you can send an email to someone and say, oh my God, how did you get through this particular project? And they'll send you an email and tell you how they did it. And, and they'll say things like, well, if you're still needing help, let's get a Google Hangout together so that we can help you. So you have support all around. So, and I think that's really, really important, especially, like I said, with online classes.
Based on your personal success and I would say your secret sauce that contributed to your success, what would you suggest or give out as tips to current students or future CFA students?
One of the things is to don't try to do it all at once. I think a lot of times we get excited and then we start to try to do 2 or 3 projects all at one time. Don't try to do 2 or 3 at one time. Stick to one at a time. And once you finish that project and you submit it, then go ahead and kind of review the next project. Just pace yourself, because you don't want to go into overload, because it's so easy to do because you have so many other things going on. You got, like I told you, wife, mother, grandmother, work, you got all of that going on. So don't get too excited, and read your project resources. Make sure that before you do anything, read your project resources so you'll know exactly what CFA is asking for in the projects. One of the mistakes I made is I was like, okay, I know how to do this, and didn't read and then when I got my feedback, it was all in the project resources. So make sure that even if you think you know how to do it, just read the project resources anyway to make sure you know what CFA is asking for as far as the project is concerned.
Thank you for those tips. So now that you're done, what's next?
Well, I'm excited about getting into the BA program. I've already kind of looked at the catalog and see just to kind of look at what it entails. So I'm just excited about moving to the next level, which is the BA program.
And what do you want to concentrate in? Communication or non-clinical healthcare?
It'll be communications. Yeah, the communications program. Yep.
That's awesome. Anything else that you want to share with us or any other students or around? Well, if you I know we used to do image before, so I'll bring that back.
Okay.
So if you had an image to describe this accomplishment or to describe where you are, what would that image be?
If I had an image, well, I guess the only thing that, like I said, I'm just elated and I'm just excited about going to the next level, which is the BA degree. I'm just very excited because, like I was saying, I just think it's a big accomplishment because you have so many other things that you have to still balance, home life, work life, and then you're having to balance going, working these projects and trying to master these competencies. So I'm just excited and I'm very proud of myself. And I just want to thank you. Remember, I told you, I just feel like you're a part of my family. I talk about you all the time at home. So, my whole family know who Deo is. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I just, like I said, I think you stuck by me through this whole journey. I think that all of the evaluators have stuck by us. And that's one of the things that, you guys never veered off. I was always able to get help. There was never a time, even during holidays, I was always able to get help regardless of where I was or what time it was, anything like that. So I think it was just so convenient